Welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a lot of fun at Toyotas, then this... Oh, I fucked all that up, huh?
And especially hearing how Tyler fucks up the intro.
Let's just leave it that way. That's a good intro.
This is the podcast for you.
This is definitely the podcast for you, where we are professionals. We always do everything perfectly and imperfectly. Perfectly, imperfectly. Does that work?
Yeah, I believe so.
Sweet. I think we just proved it too.
Yes.
Oh man. Episode 383 today. With Mr. Jimmy Jet. Mr. Jimmy Jet, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very well. I'm getting a little hungry, but we'll hopefully I'm not hangry by the end of this.
Turn into Mr. Hangry Jet.
Yeah. I do have a rant, so if we could leave that to the end,
okay.
I'll probably be in the hangry stage.
Okay.
That or maybe we'll do it on Monday. We'll see.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, man, we have a lot of updates for this episode.
We do.
We have an important topic, which I literally just learned about right before recording. Jimmy told me about it. And I was like, whoa, let's research that a little bit here. So we have an important topic we got to go over today for you guys. Make sure everybody's aware of.
I think we should go into that first.
Do that first
after we do our general updates.
Yeah. So let's keep the general update stuff relatively short then today. And jump in and jump through it all. So we've got the giveaway for the month.
Yep. James Van Andel. We still haven't sent your package out yet.
That's right. Yeah. We need to confirm your shipping address here. So, but that'll go out as soon as we get that confirmed for you from February. March's giveaway is a Devos Light Ranger. Super freaking cool area light for camping, for doing fabrication on a trail at nighttime if you end up braking at night like we do. And lots of other fun things. They work great lighting up fish at the bottom of a lake, apparently, as we learned, for fishing. So
catfishing.
That's a different thing.
Can't you light up a pond or a light, sticks some light in the water, and don't the catfishes at night come to it? Aren't they attracted to it?
I don't know.
Not cougars. That's a different thing.
Oh, I was thinking the Mente Teo story
no.
of catfishing.
No, not that either.
Okay. That's a great documentary, by the way. I watched that recently on the Netflix documentaries. Yeah. Anyways, no, I think I know that gigging, frog gigging, you do with flashlights.
Oh yeah.
I know that, but that's more to blind them so they can't see.
So then you can grab them.
Exactly.
Anyway, you could probably do that though with a Light Ranger.
Probably, yeah.
You run around with it on the 9-foot pole, and try and catch frogs.
Yep, go frog gigging with a hook on the pole with the light.
Yeah, and if you're mechanically sound, you could put a spear tip on the end of that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that'd be fun.
We've now come up.
I know, right?
Devos, we've now come up with 2 ideas on how to mount things on the top of your Light Ranger. I think last week we said the Starlink.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, hook a Starlink up there with it. That's fun. Yeah, put the Starlink on top of the Light Ranger, so you got your satellite comms and an area light at nighttime.
Yep,
I like it. Look at us go, being all innovative over here at Snail Trail 4x4.
Yeah. Now go do the product development side of that.
Get that. Somebody get that done for us, please. Yeah. So cool, man. We got Devos Light Ranger. If you guys want to get set up and hooked up with one of those, just go over to irate4x4.com. Really cool forum board over there with a ton of really good Ford axle information in one forum, and then a lot of Toyota information in another forum. So you can go check those out. And there's also another forum with Snail Trail 4x4.
Yes,
specifically just to talk about ST 4x4 stuff and some of the episodes we do where we can, have fun little conversations and feedback about each episode, which is nice the way that's all laid out there. But on that forum is your sign up options for the giveaway.
Yes, absolutely. So you just go over on the mobile device, scroll down to the bottom, find the signups there, or on desktop, you can sign up. And as soon as you sign up, I think there's a hidden form that pops up for you that you can get yourself into.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And say hello to everybody and show off your rig and either say how much you love Toyotas or how much you love heaps.
Yep. That's a good piece of info there for everybody. So yeah, check that out over at Irate 4x4. Just a reminder that coming up in nearly like a week from now, the giveaway tier is going to be opening back up.
Yeah, just a little over a week, I think.
Yep. So April 1st is when that opens up. And no, it's not an April Fool's joke. April is the start of welding month. And so it is not April Fool's, just FYI. Welding is way, way more important than April Fool's. Unless you're welding and decide to, like, if your buddy's welding and you decide to spray brake clean on their weld area while they're welding.
That would be an April Fool's.
That would be an April Fool's thing. Yes. So, giveaway month is going to be opening up. And so if you guys want to make any changes to the tiers that you're on, you want to jump into the gift box tier, which includes the giveaway tier. You can do that during the month of April. It's a great month to do it at.
Yeah. We should probably give a quick reminder that if you do want to change tiers, it's on your end that you need to cancel the previous subscription and sign up for the new one. We can't cancel it for you. It doesn't automatically cancel it for you. So if you're going to move from the giveaway tier up to the gift box tier, or if you're going to move down from the gift box tier to the giveaway tier, or do any movement whatsoever, you sign up on iRate 4x4, and that will enter you into the tier, but you're going to have to go to PayPal to unsubscribe from whatever previous tier you were in.
Correct. Yeah, there's a way to view your PayPal subscriptions through your PayPal account. So you have to do that over there.
Yep.
Cool, man. We've got some fun stuff lined up for April already. April's going to be busy. We've got Cruise Moab, which we are all signed up for.
You actually signed up finally?
I did.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, I thought I sent the picture, the screenshot in the group text.
You did,
maybe.
Yeah.
I did get signed up. I'm signed up for easier trails.
Yep.
More scenic trails because I'm taking the Bronco out there. Yeah. It's going to be fun. We're going to go. I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but I guess we can start jumping into all that. Sure. Plans for Cruise Moab. I'm going to be heading out like almost a week early.
Dang.
From what
Cruise Moab is,
from when it starts on the Thursday. So we're going to be going down 395 down to Barstow, and then taking whatever across to Vegas, and then taking whatever from there into Hurricane. And then from there up to Moab.
Cool.
And so we're going to be taking the camping trailer.
Oh, okay.
We're going to tow the camping trailer out so we can do some dispersed camping, between Barstow and Hurricane. And then we'll probably get a hotel near Hurricane somewhere.
Nice.
And then before we head up to Moab.
Cool.
So,
that'd be fun.
Yeah, it'll be a really fun trip. I've got some things I need to do to the trailer now that I've been putting off since last summer.
Sure.
But I ordered a bunch of stuff up for it. So now it's just a matter of putting it all in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you'll have the Bronco out there, which is one of the reasons you got some easier trails on the list. I was actually looking at an easier trail, but it was full. I wanted to do that Elephant Hill. Yep.
That was one of the ones I wanted to as well. Yeah.
But it was full and it didn't really line up. So I signed up. What did I sign up? At first I signed up for Pritchett Canyon on the first day, level 9. Then I signed up for Metal Masher for the Friday Morphlate Metal Masher run,
nice,
which is a 6.5.
Okay. Yep.
And then I signed up for Rusty Nail,
which is like a 9.5,
a 9, or I think it's around a 9 also. And then I was talking to Brian Flynn, First Gen Taco, Tour Guide Taco, who's actually one of the tour guides for Rusty Nail.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be hanging out with him on Saturday. But he was saying, don't do Pritchett this year. Wait and do it next year because he's going to bring out a rig to do Pritchett.
Okay.
So I changed my Pritchett Canyon sign up to Cliffhanger.
Nice.
Which is supposedly still pretty difficult.
Yeah. Cliffhanger is still a 7 or an 8, I think.
I think it's an 8.
An 8, yeah.
So my easiest trail is a 6.5.
6.5, yeah. Nice. Yeah, I'm doing on Thursday, I've got Dome Plateau, which is a 4. Yeah. And then Metal Masher, the Morphlate Metal Masher run on Friday.
Yep.
And then Dead Man Springs on Saturday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that one's nice because it's a little bit of a shorter day. It's supposed to only be, I think, a 6 hour. I don't know. It's one of the earlier start
We're
times.
not going to get home at 2 a.m. when we were supposed to leave at 5.
Ideally, yes. Yeah, that's the main point of it. But apparently there's some cool history there at Dead Man Springs.
Oh, cool.
That revolves around the name of it.
Yeah.
So that's what the secretary is interested in. So
that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. I did ask Brian if it's like, how long is this trail? I don't want to be out too late.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. I might take it. I'm probably going to do a 2-day trip to get there. I'm probably going to bomb to Salt Lake City and then spend the night.
Nice.
And then drive from Salt Lake City down. And then I might do some dispersed camping or just pull into a Walmart parking lot or something on the way home.
Yeah.
And spend the night on Sunday to Monday.
Nice.
Yeah. So that I'm not entirely sure there of that game plan. So, but yeah, glad to hear it. We're all signed up. We're all ready. I'm doing some work on Bobcat to get it ready for this Cruise Moab event. So I can try not to like slide through their check-in process, but to be all legitimate. If everything goes according to plan, I think the only thing I won't have that they occasionally check for is a horn.
Get a siren. Put a siren on.
I thought about it. But before we get to talking about Bobcat, and since we are talking about Utah, let's transition over to what's happening out in Hurricane St. George, San Hallow area.
Yeah.
About BLM trying to take 1,000 acres of land, do a land swap out there, which bothers 6 to 8 trails, I think it was, somewhere in that range.
Somewhere in that range, yeah.
Of San Hallow trails.
Yep. Yeah. OHV recreation trails at Sand Mountain OHV area just outside of Hurricane. And so what's going on is it's the water district is trying to get a reservoir made in that area.
Oh, okay. And
the main purpose of putting a reservoir in that area is so that housing developments can start in that area.
Right.
You can't put a housing development in somewhere if there's no infrastructure for water. Like people just don't survive, right?
Isn't there a lake right there though?
I don't think it may not be enough.
Not designated as a reservoir.
Yeah, maybe not. And so the water district is trying to put in a reservoir right there in that area. So their initial offer to BLM was to do a land trade.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, that could be interesting. We may lose some land here, lose some trails here, but what are we getting for that trade?
Yeah. What other land are we going to get?
Yeah. So the proposed trade that was the start of all this was the water district would gain 1,000 acres, a little over 1,000 acres of land. So we would lose roughly about 1,000 acres of land. And the water district would be giving the recreationers about 80 acres of land.
Wait, what?
80.
80
acres.
So we would give 1,000 acres up of land that is designated an OHV area for 80 acres somewhere else.
Yeah.
They better be some damn good 80 acres.
Fucking right. So that was the original proposal. And the UPLA, or UPLA, however people are pronounced. I've heard it pronounced UPLA before. And the way it was presented to us is UPLA. It's the Utah Public Lands Alliance.
Right.
And so the Utah Public Lands Alliance is like, that doesn't fucking sound right.
Right.
So they have been sitting down and talking and doing negotiations now with the water district in order to try and figure out what's going on and make sure that if anything does move forward in the future with this land grab, that the vehicular recreation is permanently and legally saved in whatever happens. So apparently, according to the water district, their main concern is that reservoir, getting a reservoir in there.
Sure.
And so they're claiming that they are willing to give permanent legal binding land easements to OHV trails in the area, though.
Okay.
In working up this land grab and the agreement in the land grab. So the problem, though, is that the water district has no interest. They're not an OHV recreation business.
No.
So they're like, we're not going to fucking manage the OHV usage in the area. We'll give you easements, but we're not going to manage it. And so but we're going to essentially own the land. So if the land gets fucked up due to the OHV, then we're going to shut down and take away the easements, kind of thing.
Right.
Of course. And so there has to be a land manager for the OHV part of it. And that is up in the air as of right now, whether it'll be, the city of Hurricane, who does great with nearby lands for San Hallow and whatnot. Or maybe BLM would manage it or something. And if it comes down to one of those, then, is there going to be now a fee associated with the open OHV recreation in that area? So there's a lot of unknown stuff here, and putting in a reservoir there is the first big step to housing developments.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? And once housing developments start happening in a place, we know where that goes. It goes the same route that Moab is going right now. It goes the same route that Pismo is going right now. It's a beautiful, beautiful land that off-roaders have, I don't want to say discovered, but off-roaders and OHV recreation has been like, oh my God, there's this great piece of land here that's beautiful for outdoor recreation. And then people are like, oh, that's great. Let's build housing developments so that people can live in that area. And then as people start moving in and living in that area, eventually it gets to the point where OHVers are pushed out of the area.
Yep.
And the land is then taken over by people who want nothing to do with OHV and don't want anything to do with OHV nearby.
Right. Which is exactly what's happening in Moab.
It's exactly what's happening in Moab. It's exactly what's happening in Pismo. We see it time and time again. It's exactly what happened in Carnegie. Yep. It's exactly what happened with the motorsports park in Reno that Ultra 4 used to be happening at.
Wild West.
The Wild West Motorsports Park. Thank you. We see this pattern over and over and over again in the off-road recreation world. So this is something we need to not allow happen, in my opinion.
I agree 100%. So I'm going to add the email into the show notes.
Okay.
And you need to just write in. The period originally was until today when we're recording this, Tuesday, the 21st, but they have extended it till the 19th of April, I believe.
Yep.
So you have until the 19th of April to write in and tell them to not do this. Tell them that, you have a goal to get to San Hallow sometime and you want to run these trails. Tell them that you have ran these trails and it's absolutely beautiful out there. And if they take this area away from off-roaders, then they're ruining some of the scenic beauty of Utah. Tell them that, if you're removing areas from off-roaders, then you're making it where places or you're making an area that becomes more congested for off-roading. And we're going to possibly do more damage to land. So you should open up more land. There's many things to say to these people that you just need to say a message out there. Tell them that you are interested in going to this place. Tell them, I guess I'm sort of beating about a dead horse, but just send an email.
You're swinging a dead cat across the yard.
There you go.
Yeah.
One of those things.
Okay.
Send in an email. The more emails that get sent in, the more notice or interest that the BLM will be like, oh, dang. Okay.
There are actually a lot of people that care about this.
There are a lot of people that care about this. There is a lot of interest. There is a lot of fire going on. Maybe we shouldn't push this ball too hard. So I'll add that link down below just in case you're at a spot where you want to write it down.
Yep.
Don't write it down while you're driving. It's BLM_UT_SGFO_comments@blm.gov.
Cool. Yeah. Write an email in. I listened to the Wheeling Wine and Whiskey episode 200 with Ian Johnson recently. And Ian did a really great job of a lot of things, but he outlined kind of public lands issues. They talked a little bit shortly about public lands issues, and he's absolutely right. It sounds like a cop out. It sounds like it's you don't care at all by doing this, but really our public land organizations just need funds to fight litigations like this.
Right.
So send them $20, send them $40, send them $100. If we're spending thousands of dollars on our vehicles, the littlest that we can do is send $20-$40 here and there to help fight stuff like this. So UPLA or UPLA, UPLA, which is their website is utahpla.com. Go there and make some donations there. Blue Ribbon has also put up some emergency notifications on sharetrails.org about it as well. So check out both those sites, support both those organizations. This is going to be, I think, another one of those really long fights coming in.
I believe it will
So,
be, unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah. And if you aren't in that area, just feel free to donate to any of those organizations or donate to one that is in your area for something that you really care about, because the money does go a long way.
Yep.
You can volunteer, you can go and help, you can do whatever, but I would highly suggest just throw them a 20 or something and just try to be on top of that and help them out as much as you can.
I agree. Big proponent. So cool. That's the kind of the newest update that's forthcoming here for Utah and off-road recreation in Utah. So there's that. Let's see. What other updates do we have for people?
Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody.
Yeah. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Hopefully everybody was safe there. Nobody ended up with alcohol poisoning.
Nope. Not me.
Not me.
No gout flare-ups, so I'm
that's
good.
Good.
Yeah,
yeah.
We went out downtown and our favorite Monk Cellar had a St. Patrick's Day party.
Nice. Okay.
They had corned beef and cabbage. They had some stout cake. They had some soda bread.
Okay.
And they had a buy a beer and get a shot of whiskey deal going on.
That's fun.
Yeah, so that was a good time.
No Irish car bombs?
No Irish car bombs, no.
Okay.
Maybe if they probably could have done one.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, my brother was out there and the assistant and I were out and we had a good time.
Nice.
But what was funny is so they close about 10. They're a restaurant. They start shutting down at 10. And so we're like, well, let's go over to the Boxing Donkey and go get an Irish cider because they have Magnuson's or something like that on tap or in a can or something. And so we go over there and they closed at 10. And we're like, okay, well, let's go to Bar 101. They closed at 10. I was like, what is up with this area that everything is closing down at 10 o'clock? There's still like some clubs that were open past that, but no like bars that were open past 10. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Seems like a missed opportunity for a lot of bars.
Right? Yeah. And that's what I said. And so,
yeah, imagine pretty much business if just one of them stayed open, how much business they would have gotten.
Yes. Yes, I can. Yeah. So we, at that point we realized we were 3 sheets, or maybe 2, but we decided, you know what? We're not terribly far from the car, but we're also not terribly far from home. So we walked back to the house from there. And, the assistant took us the longest route possible. I mean, we could have gone the whole opposite way. It would have been longer, but it was through this housing track and it was just windy roads. I'm like, if we just took that road, you just sort of loop us around right over to where we need to go. But it was like, no, we go up here, take a left, go up here, take a right, go up here. And I was like, oh, this is silly. So yeah, we walked all the way back home. On the way home, we found a red box. We rented it won the best picture this year. The like Korean or Japanese film of where different time travels. Never mind. It was a really interesting movie. I forgot what the title of it is, but we started watching that. And then I look over and the assistant's asleep and I was like, all right, time to go to bed. Started that the next night and watched the rest of that movie the next night. But yeah, so we were both hurting a little bit, but it was, we had some fun.
Nice. I didn't do anything. So I don't pay attention to social holidays.
No,
no.
Well, the assistant is Irish.
Okay.
So that's like her thing.
Gotcha.
That's one of her parties.
Okay.
Yeah. What
is the Danish day? Is there a Danish day?
I don't know. Day of Orange?
Day of Orange? That's Netherlands.
The Danish aren't
Denmark?
Dutch?
Denmark. Denmark is different from Netherlands?
From Dutch? The Dutch?
Yeah.
Denmark is different from the Dutch. I don't know what the Danish... I don't know. Is that... There's got to be a pastry day.
Hopefully.
Right?
I'll find
one.
National
Pastry Day?
I'll find one. Yeah. Okay.
And you can have that be the Danish day?
Yeah.
You can have a Danish on the pastry day?
Hopefully. It'll work for me.
There you go. So. Sounds good.
Yeah. I didn't do anything. I think I didn't even realize it was St. Patrick's Day. We went out to get pizza from Pizzasaurus Rex.
Okay.
And so while we were out, there was a shit ton of people walking around downtown in green outfits at bars. And I was like, oh, that's right. It's St. Patrick's.
Yeah.
All right. I hate crowds. Give me my pizza and go back home and eat
going
this.
home. That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, let's see. Did you get to do anything else this weekend? Any fun? Know you've been doing a lot of work on Bobcat. Bobcat ready.
One of those days, I think it was Friday night, Friday afternoon before St. Patrick's Day, or of St. Patrick's Day. Hussman came over and we worked on Bobcat a little bit, and we put the Tundra leaf springs in the back of Bobcat.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was either me being silly, or just thinking that it'll work. But it lowered Bobcat about 5 inches. 4 to 5 inches.
The arcs are that much less than the Pro Comp
but
ones?
we also have, yes, they are, because we have 5-inch, 4-inch, or 5-inch Pro Comp springs, and these are stock springs. So they're the equivalent to a stock
Tundra.
Well, the Tundra springs are equivalent to a stock Chevy 63 spring.
Okay.
Right? They're height-wise, they're pretty close. They're like 3/4 of an inch shorter than they are, and they're not a centered pin. But the Pro Comp ones we have, I don't think are a centered pin.
They're off
either.
by 2 inches, 2.5, something like that.
So this brought it back more towards center.
Okay.
Which is kind of nice. But yeah, lowered Bobcat in the rear about 4 to 5 inches.
Okay.
And so I'm going to probably take them back off. I'm going to open them back up, and I think I'm going to put a 1-inch block in there.
Okay.
And kind of lift it up just a hair, because it's sitting pretty good. The front is about an inch higher than the rear is.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Bobcat had a rake forward before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you put weight in the bed.
Gotcha.
And so once I put weight in the bed, Bobcat's really going to be a saggy ass. So I'm going to lift it up a little bit. It'll become somewhat level, but once you add more gear and stuff inside of the bed, it'll definitely lower that rear end a little bit. But one of the problems now is my shocks didn't fit before, and they definitely don't fit now. So I threw a photo up on the Facebook group and, or on the Snail Trail 4x4 Facebook page. And a lot of people suggested triangulating my shocks.
Okay.
Which I don't know why, but I've always been somewhat of against it, because my thought of triangulating shocks works great for off-road capabilities, but is not great for on-road capabilities.
Yeah. Yeah. Typically that's kind of it just gives you more body roll on road, so you can't go drifting. So
and Bobcat now has so much body roll or whatever it is. So I don't know. I think Bobcat's at the point now where it's like I'm not daily driving it anymore. You know, I was, 5-6 years ago or whatever, maybe 10 years ago, it was my daily driver. So I've always sort of left the shocks somewhat vertical. I think at this point now that it's a trailer princess, it's not quite the queen. It gets driven around occasionally or driven up to trails. I think I might triangulate them. I don't know if I have time to do that before Moab though. So I'm kind of curious. I might call, this might be sacrilege, but I might call Metal Cloak and talk to them about their double shocks.
Oh yeah. Those are nice.
Whatever they're called. I can't remember the name. So they have a piston that shoots up and a piston that shoots down.
Yep.
And so they can have a really compact package.
Yep.
That gets a lot of travel.
Yep.
So
you get almost double the amount of travel out of the shock body that you would typically get out of a shock.
Right.
From the same size shock.
Yeah. So I'm tempted to see if that might be a feasible option. If not just a temporary solution before I triangulate it, but I'm sure those shocks aren't cheap.
No.
So I don't know how temporary that might be.
Yeah.
I might just go with smaller shocks. I might, when I lift it the inch, it might be high enough that I'm not going to bottom out the shocks too bad. I might call Sean at Shock Surplus and see what we could do.
Yeah, so we can find out.
I don't know. So I'm really kind of in that boat, but it looks good. I mean, it looks actually fairly flat. It looks nice. I mean, it has a little rake to the rear. It looks off because the wheel wells are different heights, right? You know, the front wheel well is bigger than the rear wheel well, so it looks really slanted. Or not really slanted, but it does look slanted. So we did that. But the Tundra leaf springs have a different bolt than the Chevy 63s did. And it's a difference of like a 14 millimeter shake or a 9/16 shake.
Okay.
It's like 0.1 difference. And so I didn't have any of the hardware to actually put it all back together. I found some bolts that fit and we slapped it together and set it down.
But there's like play in the bolts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's, there's a little bit of play in the bolts. It's probably a 7/16 bolt instead of a 9/16 bolt or something. But it was enough to set it down. The bolts are holding it all in place, and I could look at it visually and go like, "Is this right?" Because when we were pulling those Tundra or the Pro Comps out, it was like the rig was at this funny shit. Like the bed was up high, the axle was near the ground. We took the tires off to like lower the axle farther. And then when we put the Tundra ones in, we're like, there's so much room. Like this thing's going to lower it so far. So that was kind of funny that was such a drastic change. So I'm curious. I'm going to rock them in Cruise Moab.
Okay.
I'm going to check it out. I'm doing some more aggressive trails. So I'm kind of happy that it's a little lower than it was in the last few years. So we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of this is really just a test to see if these are an option for people instead of Chevy 63s.
Yeah. Cool. I like it.
Yeah.
That should be a fun test.
Yeah.
How's the steering coming?
Yes. And then before Hussman came over for a few days last week, I ground down. I took the steering apart.
Okay.
I took the power steering off. I disconnected the hoses. I took the ram off. I had to pull the radiator out, because I had frame brackets, holding my power steering box on. And so if I'm rotating the power steering box, I can't use the same like bolt-in location. Right. So I had to grind off and down the brackets that were there, and Hussman put those on. I don't know, like 8 years ago or something like that. Cause I was cracking my frame. And so we fixed the cracks, then we put these brackets on. And on one side, it was really easy. Like I just kind of ground the outside of the bracket off, and I could peel it off for the most part, and it was fine. But the other side had the pass-through sleeves that went through this frame, and so those were popping out, and those had welds around them. And then on the bracket, it had a bigger hole for where the sleeves came through, and that had a weld around it. And then so there was like all these welds on the inside of the frame that I was like, oh my gosh. And so I cut vertical lines and horizontal lines to try to make sections that I could pry off. But at some point I was just like, this is stupid. And I just got a big grinding disc and just started grinding the hell out of that until it went down. Until it somewhat looks flat. And I held a plate up to it, and it sits fairly flat. But yeah, and there's still the sleeves and everything on the inside. So it was a pain. It's just
frame strengthening.
It was a pain is what it was.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was stout. It was built stoutly, right? It did its job, and it was what it was a great thing, but to take that off sucked.
Yeah.
So I thought about, oh man, can I just cut it flat and match the top and the bottom of the frame and then put more plates on top of the previous plates?
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I'm going to do this right and do it once, do it right, and move forward from there.
Nice.
So it's all sitting there apart. I ordered up a Skies Offroad, their frame brackets. They make 2. I looked them up a while ago, and I was like, oh man, they only have like the normal position frame bracket. And then that was just me looking at their website. And then I clicked on that bracket, and then it gives you the option for a flat pitman arm version. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what I want. So I clicked on that. I had a lot of people tell me to don't weld those frame brackets on until you mount your power steering box to it and cycle the power steering box and make sure that the bolt for your pitman arm is going to clear your frame and not have an issue.
That makes sense.
And I said, that's great advice. And so I'm waiting on those. There's something weird with Skies Offroad flat pitman arm. Have I told you this?
Mm-mm.
So the flat pitman arm that Skies Offroad sells from hole to hole, from the sector shaft hole to the pitman or to the drag link hole is shorter distance lengthwise than a stock pitman arm.
I mean, that kind of makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Why?
If you're changing the angle of the steering, then
but
you're changing the arc on the drag link.
But the distance from hole to hole is different. So it's shortening it up. So I'm not going to get the appropriate amount of rotation. The steering is going to be shorter.
You could be if the steering ends up closer to your knuckles.
Right. So
because you're rotating the box and putting a flatter arm on it.
Right. So I'd have to get the steering closer to the knuckles, I'd have to change my steering arms.
Your knuckle arms, or aren't you rotating the box though?
Well, I'm rotating the box, but if I rotated the box and I kept the stock pitman arm on there, it would be it's still the same. My position for where the drag link comes down to the pit or to my steering arms is still falling in the same location. Moving the box forward or back doesn't change how much the rotation happens.
You mean the swing?
The swing.
Well, so you're not rotating your box. You're only moving it forward or backwards.
No, I'm rotating it
and moving it forward. So
towards the front.
So if you have a lever sticking out from a rotationing point and you move that lever down now, it's going to be closer in elevation to your steering knuckles than it was before.
Okay, but that doesn't change
that changes the distance from your swing point to your knuckle.
Okay, but I'm not. So if I have a longer arm, my swing is greater.
Correct.
Than if I have a shorter arm.
Correct.
So you're saying the fact that I'm rotating it, and that will make the arm closer
to the knuckle,
which
I would imagine would give you the similar effect on your swing arc length as in relation to your knuckles as having a longer arm rotated upwards.
Well, the arm is rotated downwards.
I agree.
Stock arm is.
So you're rotating it upwards. Usually when you do this modification, you're rotating the box so that the arm turns downwards because you can't go upwards. It'll go into your frame.
Well, I'm putting, so when the arm curves down currently, right? It drops like 1.5 inches or something like that, or 1.25 inches. They also make a 3/4 inch drop, and they make a flat pitman arm. So Skies makes all three. And so when I'm rotating the box, so the box is now, I don't know what it is, 25-degree angle. And then the pitman arm is flat and then curves down and then is flat again. Okay. Right. And so it's somewhat kind of near the frame. And I'm rotating the box. If you're looking at the side of the truck, I'm rotating the box clockwise.
Okay.
And then have a flat pitman arm that's up near the frame.
Okay. So your bolt hole is still in the same spot then?
No, except it's just drastically moving towards the front of vehicle by like 3 or 4 inches.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
How much of a different length is your pitman arm now then?
I didn't buy theirs because it was shorter.
Gotcha.
Because in my mind, my pitman arm, my rotation of my power steering box only turns so far.
Yeah.
And if I'm shortening that, then that is going to reduce the amount of steering that I get from my knuckles.
Possibly. I think it depends on all the geometry of everything.
Maybe
how much you're rotating the box and everything. So
but the box, maybe there's something else in there, but the box only rotates so far. So if I'm reducing the amount, so let's take it to an extreme. If I only have a 2-inch pitman arm on there and I move it really far back, that changes the amount of turn that it'll get.
Well, yeah, because you're changing it that drastically,
right? So what you're saying is the amount of change that I'm going to do is not going to be drastic enough.
That would be my assumption, and I would assume that Skies Offroad has done the engineering to figure that out where that point is, so that your change in rotation of the box becomes equal to the change of the length of the pitman arm. Whereas if you shorten the pitman arm too far, then you'll overcome how much of the rotation of the box you do, and then you will lose steering. I think that is true, but I would imagine Sky's Offroad has figured out where that even point is.
Right. So, but I would then have to put I'd have to put the box exactly where they suggest. If
Probably.
I move the box anywhere out of that point, then if I just simply rotate the box in the same spot, then the steering is going to be different on a positive or negative. I don't know which way. And if I push it if I put the steering box on the complete opposite side of the fire or the front of the vehicle support, up by where a winch might go, then it wouldn't work properly either.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So I
would imagine there's a spot in there where they've figured out where that happy medium is.
I don't know. To me, I don't understand how changing why the drop of a pitman arm would affect the distance of the that the pitman arm should be.
For the same reason that when your leaf springs drop, it pulls your pitman arm. You're changing the distance between your steer knuckle, the elevation between your steer knuckle and your pitman arm, and where your drag link connects to the pitman arm, I should say.
I get that.
So it's same concept. You're changing the elevation of the pitman arm rather than the knuckle.
So if you raise your vehicle 10 inches, you need a shorter or longer pitman arm?
I would imagine, yeah. In order to maintain perfect steering. Now, again, I think that there's levels of acceptable variation there that you're like, I can do. I don't care about 2 extra degrees of steering. So whatever. But yeah,
I disagree with you.
Okay.
I think it's more about the distance of rotation from the distance of the sector shaft to the distance of where the drag link connects and the rotation, and the distance from the center point of your knuckle to where the drag link attaches on the knuckle. Those 2 matters.
Yeah.
But not necessarily. You're still going to get the same rotation, whether it's higher or lower. If you have,
you're going to get the same rotation on your sector shaft. You may not get the same rotation on your knuckle if it's higher or lower.
All right. Well, we'll agree to disagree. I can understand some of it, but I don't know. So if you have any comments or questions in regards to that, email me, jimmy@snailtrail4x4.com.
Yeah.
Let me know if the Sky's Offroad one works or not. Regardless, I bought a trail gear one because it's flat and it's the same length as the stock one.
Nice. There you go.
But the Sky's Offroad one looks pretty slick because it has a section where the nut actually goes down into the pitman arm, and it makes it a little bit more condensed.
So it's a smaller packaging then, in terms of thickness, I guess, to clear the frame and other stuff.
Yeah. I'm not, and it looks smaller, but it also made me kind of wonder, or thinner in that area. But it also kind of then made me wonder, like, oh, well, then is it not as strong down there?
Yeah.
That's kind of concerning. So yeah, I bought one. I got a trail gear one because the math in my head worked out.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine people. I mean, if the trail gear one didn't work, people wouldn't be buying it. They wouldn't be offering it. Right. So
yeah. Or there's a lot of stupid people out there like me and going like, that one's shorter, it shouldn't work. Yeah. So I'm going to do this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. I'll update people and see how that goes. I might buy the Sky one to put on Samantha to test and just get a comparison. So I have no idea, so I'm waiting on the frame brackets. I'm thinking about re-tapping my power steering box to move
in a different location.
Yeah. To move one of the hoses from the front to the side so that I can push the box as far forward as I possibly can with, pretty much into that body mount right up there. And then I don't have to worry about the hose popping out the front. Or
that hose fitting, you've put a 90 on it and it jams in there like my dad's does. And during body flex or something like that, it ends up wearing and breaking that 90-degree fitting out like my dad's is.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Yeah.
I did think about possibly cutting a hole saw and just cutting a hole in there.
Yeah.
And then maybe running it straight out the front. and then curve it around and down or something.
That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting. So I don't entirely know what I'm going to do there. I'm going to try to make it as far forward as I can. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to tap the box. I'm thought about ripping the entire power steering box apart to tap it, but I only have a few hours, like once a week to do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm really sort of in this time crunch. I'm also concerned that the frame brackets might not show up in time, which would be catastrophic.
That would suck, yeah.
So I'm trying to think of a backup plan, and to some extent, the backup plan is building my own.
Yeah, you have a plasma cutter.
Yeah,
so
I need to hook it up, but I do, and I have hole saw bits.
Yeah,
and I would need to sleeve it and get some plate and do it. I know Hustle Nuts is probably listening right now. Go, yeah, do it. That'd be rad.
Yeah.
So
we've got buddies with CNC plasma tables.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure how that all is going to come down. I do need to rebuild chunks of that steering still. The tie rod is bent because I've been colliding the pitman arm into the tie rod so many times. So I have to rebuild the tie rod. I do have to buy a new mount for my hydraulic assist. That's going to go onto the tie rod. And then just, bleed the system once I put it all back together.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I stole off of Dave's spare transmission a sensor for the reverse lights.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to figure out if I can just plug those together and get that working. And then I think there was one other thing I wanted to do on Bobcat.
Parking brakes?
Parking brakes. So I sent you a photo. Did you see it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So my parking brakes don't have that weird offset thing.
Stupid ass bracket.
Yeah, that stupid ass bracket that yours has.
Yeah.
So I pulled those out and was talking to Hustle Nuts about them. And he's like, man, these are going to be so much easier. And so I was like, sweet, because I don't have an immense amount of time.
Yeah, I don't understand it. They literally, Willwood offers the mounting plate that you have on your calipers. They offer that on 2 of the rotor width options for those calipers. But I need the biggest rotor width because I'm going to be running the F250 rotors.
Right.
And which are 1.25 inches. And so the only mounting plate option they offer is the stupid one. I'm like, you guys have this mounting plate for the other calipers. They look like identical calipers.
Right.
It's just there's different spacers in the caliper to make them fit the different rotors. Right.
Right.
And so I'm like, they look like the exact same caliper. Why couldn't you guys put this plate on these calipers?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
So in regards to the e-brake, I was talking to Hustle Nuts and we were just like, I need to seize the brake onto the rotor so that I can start setting up the mounting bracket that we're going to have to build.
Yep.
So I might, maybe I'll talk to you off air. I'll just say it right now. You can think about it while we're recording. I might steal your setup that you have. Because you're not going to need it for a while, and I'll buy everything and just give you all the things that you bought or however you want to buy it.
That's right. Yeah.
But maybe I can use yours right now instead of waiting for that period of time. Though I'm probably not going to, even if I ordered them today, I probably won't work on them for like another week or so.
Yeah.
But at least I can get them to clamp together and build the bracket while other parts come in.
So all you need, you have your jump starter battery, right? Your Norco or whatever that is. Do you have the the accessory plug for it that you can plug in cigarette lighter accessories?
I believe so.
Too. So you just take that and you take and make 2 wires with female spade connectors on the ends and plug them onto the terminals in the caliper, and then leave the other ends of the wires open, no termination on them, and just hold them into that accessory on the ground, and then put one down in the middle for the load. And it'll either turn the motor one way, and if it doesn't engage, then you take them, switch them. And that's how I clamped them onto my brake rotors.
Okay. So you didn't use that actuator?
Not for just setting up the brackets, no.
Okay.
I just used the actuator to test whether or not that system would work, and then to clamp the calipers to the rotors to set up the brackets. I just did it using the jump starter.
Got it. Okay. So I'll maybe do that.
Yeah.
And then, I need to order everything. I really would like to play with that window module, but there's not enough time to do that at the moment. Yep. I mean, you could probably just buy one and see if it works, but I don't to wire it all up and get it all rolling. I think all I need to really do is get it to hold once at tack.
Tack, and then after
that, I'm not going to worry about it so much. So yeah. All right. That's enough about Bobcat. We covered Utah, pretty much covered my weekend.
Nice.
We did do a St. Patrick's Day family dinner. We did something else on Saturday night. I don't remember what, but it wasn't that eventful apparently.
Yeah. I got to go out and, last week we recorded and launched, I think on Monday's episode was the snow wheeling.
Yes.
So
Snowlow wheeling.
That's right. Snowlow wheeling. And so that was kind of interesting because literally we had got done recording that episode and then I got a call from Ken Hauer over at Rubicon Trail Foundation.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey man, we've been planning these educational videos that we wanted to do for snow wheeling on the Rubicon and getting these videos out to the public, educational. Yeah. That's what RTF, one of the RTF's goals is to educate the public on, different wheeling on the Rubicon.
Right. Okay.
And so they wanted to do this big series of videos for snow wheeling out there up in Rubicon. And I was like, we've been planning on doing these for a while now, but I was like, okay, let's go over some of the topics that we want to cover for this video series. And I was looking over it and I was like, this is literally like the podcast episode we just got done recording.
That's awesome. Perfect.
So we ended up going out there on Thursday last week. And I got to essentially play host on these video series.
Oh, cool.
With John Arns.
Oh, nice.
So John brought his TJ out.
Yeah.
And I had my Forerunner, but it was never used in any of the videos, but some of my equipment was used as we were talking through some ideas of stuff you can use for snow wheeling out on the Rubicon. And, so we ended up coming out. I think we shot 5 videos on Thursday.
Wow.
4 videos.
With like a cell phone, or what'd you shoot it on?
It ended up being a cell phone because the GoPro kept losing the audio for some reason.
Oh, weird.
And then the GoPro would just like freeze. Like everything was like still, it looked like it was recording, but the timer on the recording wasn't moving or counting or anything. And so we're like, all right, we're just going to not use the GoPro.
Got it. Yeah.
So we used a Ken's cell phone. And he had a little, the Rode microphones like you have on your gimbal.
Yeah.
And so we used that. That's ultimately what it was. And, essentially it was just kind of like, hey, we're here today with Rubicon Trail Foundation. I'm here with John Arns to talk about this topic.
Right.
John, what do you do with this topic? Like, what's your thoughts on it? What do you do personally? And then he would kind of explain it. And then we would have this dialogue back and forth about, some of the ideas that I do, some of the equipment that I carry and he carries and how we use them. And, some stuff that we've tried in the past that doesn't work, you probably shouldn't use. And, so it was a lot of fun, going and hang out with those guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah. For, a few days, and we were done by, I think 1 PM on Thursday. Wow. Yeah.
That's awesome. Where'd you record it at?
At the plow line at Airport Flats.
Okay.
Yep. So we did a couple videos using his rig as the backdrop, some videos of kind of gear spread out on the ground as backdrop, some videos standing out in the snow, as backdrop. So, the first one in the series, which is kind of, prepare for your trip, would know before you go, kind of preparations before you go on your trip, was just launched this morning.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So if you go over to Rubicon Trail Foundation's YouTube page, they're going to start releasing these videos pretty quickly here, just as quickly as he can get them edited, so that they can get out there before we're all out of snow season.
Yeah. Which won't be anytime soon.
No, at Soda Springs, there's like 22 feet of snow.
Really?
Yes. Jeez. Which is crazy. So yeah, that was a lot of fun on Thursday. Friday, let's see. What did I do Friday? Oh, Friday, I broke the F-150.
I saw that or heard about this in a text group. So what happened?
So I went out to get in the F-150 and take it to work.
Yeah.
On Friday. And it just kind of cranked for a while. But it wasn't like a slow crank, like the battery was dying or anything.
Just normal.
And I was like, that's weird. So I backed off for a second and let it sit there. And I was like, you going to just figure yourself out this morning here?
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, little guy?
You've never had this issue before. Well, performance issues. Okay. And so cranked it again and it went just fine. I was like, okay, that's weird. It's never like it has not started before, but that's when I'm running the fridge in the back seat and don't start the rig for 2 days.
Right. Okay.
And it kills the battery. Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I've never had an issue where it cranks and doesn't start before. So I was like, that's weird, but everything seemed to be running fine. So I took off, and about halfway through the neighborhood to get out to the main road, I went to accelerate, and it just kind of like fell on its face and nothing. It just like,
did it die?
No, not there, but it just kind of like backed off the gas and let it catch up to itself again. And then it took off just fine as I was easier on the gas. And I was like, well, that was weird.
Okay.
What the hell is going on? And then I get out to the main intersection to get into my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm second in line to the crosswalk to the intersection. And I put it in, and the light turns green. I hit the gas, and the car just dies.
Oh no.
I'm like, fuck. So I try and start it again. It does a long crank and then it gets started. And then I put it in drive, hit the gas, and just dies. I'm like, what the fuck? And so I try and do it again. And this time I get it into drive. And before I even hit the gas, as soon as I put it into drive, it dies.
It sounds like a fuel starvation issue.
It was acting like that. Yeah. And I'm like, so why the fuck is the fuel? Why is it having fuel issues? I'm like, God. And so the last time I did it, I got it started. I'm just going to like let it sit here and park and see if it figures things out. And it sat there in park for like 10, 15 seconds. And then it just dies in park.
Weird.
I'm like, what is going on? This time when it died, it said oil pressure warning, low oil pressure. And meanwhile, this whole time that this is happening, the cab starts filling with smoke.
Yeah, that's not good.
And there's a little, you can see smoke coming out from under the hood. And I'm like, what the fuck? And it smells like, it's not like fire smoke. It smells like burned oil smoke, like motor oil.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on? So I'm like, all right. So I'm getting out, and I'm like, I don't have a fire extinguisher in this vehicle. I have like 7 element fire extinguishers sitting in my garage at home that I haven't distributed to all my vehicles yet. I'm like, fuck, I need to put those in now. And so I'm like going out, and I open up the hood. There's a little bit of remnants of smoke, but nothing. There's no fires, no nothing. And I'm like, what is going on? And so I pull the dipstick for the oil, the engine oil, full. The whole dipstick is covered in oil, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. The whole thing shouldn't be covered. So I wipe it off on my Stellar Build sweater, because that's what it's great for.
Thanks, Dimitri.
Thank you, Dimitri. And so I wipe it off, put it back in, pull it back out, and it's full on oil. I'm like, well, why would I have low oil pressure warning if it's full on oil? And so I'm thinking, I know that the truck, the F-150s and the 3.5 liter EcoDiesel or the EcoBoost engine has a fuel pump fuse circuit issue. It's well known, well documented that eventually you're going to pop the fuel pump circuit. That's the fuse that I fixed for that guy out at Meadow Lake during Sierra Trek.
Oh, okay.
And so I pull open the fuse box. I'm looking at the fuse 27, and it looks like it's intact. I didn't pull out the fuse to look at it, but I'm like, the fuse is intact, so I should have a fuel pump going.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I don't think it's that. And I'm like, but why would I be getting low oil pressure? So meanwhile, I'm sitting there. There's cars piling up behind me, and I'm trying to tell people to go around me. And I'm like, fuck, I need to get out of this intersection. But it's like, I can't push the vehicle by myself.
Yeah. It's heavy.
It's a big truck. And so I'm like, what? And so I immediately called MF or Ryan, because I know he gets to work early. He goes, hey, what's going on? How's your morning going? I was like, I need you. Come to my house now. He goes, okay, I'll be right down there. I was like, cool. And then I called the secretary, and I was like, I don't know what I need you yet for, but I need you to come out here to this intersection. That's where the truck is dead. And she goes, okay. And so she comes out. And I was originally, I'm thinking
the three of you would just push it off the side of the road.
No, I need to get the 4Runner to tow the F-150 back home.
Okay.
But the secretary doesn't know how to drive stick shift.
Right.
And so I'm thinking I'm going to have her come and sit with the truck to direct traffic around the truck while I take her Subaru back home to grab the 4Runner to come back to to tow the F-150 back home. And I'm like, and I don't know if in order to tow the F-150 dead, because it's not starting anymore. It's going to be strong arm steering. And I'm like, I don't know if she's going to have the strength to do it. So maybe Ryan's going to have to steer the F-150 back home. So, anyways, we got all that worked out, took the F-150 back home, and Ryan and I are trying to diagnose it. And like, why would we have low fuel pressure or low oil pressure?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't get it. And we're looking at it's full on oil. There's no leaks anywhere under the vehicle. So I don't know. I was like, I'm not going to worry about this. I don't have time for this. There's supposedly 3 to 4 recalls on the F-150 that I could have it taken in to do the recall work on. And then while they're doing the recall work, be like, hey, can you guys also look into this?
Look, hey, it doesn't start.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I did. I just let the truck sit all weekend. And then Monday morning, I had AAA come pick the truck up and take it over to a nearby Ford dealership.
Okay.
During that time when Ryan and I were trying to diagnose low oil pressure back in my house, it started getting to the point where like you would put the key in and just turn to accessories, and the notice would come up on the entertainment center that says low battery and entertainment system shutting down to conserve battery. I'm like, why is it low battery now all of a sudden? Like we didn't sit there and try and crank it for that long to kill the battery. I was like, that seems weird. And so I've known that the battery has been getting low because I've killed it a couple times running out camping. And during the cold weather we've been having lately, it has been, having a little bit of trouble slow crank in order to start. But like that morning, it didn't slow crank at all. It cranked right over. It just kept cranking and wouldn't start. And so I'm like, oh, the battery seems okay. It should be okay. It shouldn't be just going dead.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And so Monday morning when the tow truck driver gets there, I put the key in and the whole vehicle's completely dead. No battery whatsoever.
Weird.
And I'm like,
so there's a grounding issue.
There's some really big parasitic draw somewhere.
Yeah.
Some circuit got burned somewhere and completely just killed the battery, had a huge parasitic draw on it. And I don't know if that's related to
the cause
of what's going on. I don't know. So, tow truck driver shows up. He's AAA. He grabs the truck and takes off. Doesn't get any of my information at all. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it till after he left. And I was going to do some work from home for a little bit, answer emails and everything and customer service stuff. And I realized I left my phone and the Morphlate phone in the cab of the F-150.
Whoops.
So I was like, shit, now I got to go down to the Ford dealer and get the phones. I'll just talk to the Ford dealer then at that point. So I raced down to the Ford dealership, get there, and my truck is sitting in the middle of the parking lot at the dealership. Like they didn't pull it into a service bay, into the service check-in area. It's just in the middle of the parking lot. And I'm like, all right, that seems weird, but the hood is open and there's a dude out looking at it. And I'm like, okay, maybe they just wanted to look at it out here. I don't know. So I walk up and I was like, hey, you're working on the F-150, huh? And he goes, yep. I was like, cool. That's my truck. I'm the owner. Do you mind if I just grab my phones out real quick? And he goes, yeah, no, your truck, do whatever you want. It's not moving. And I was like, yeah, I don't think it is. He goes, was this running when the tow truck driver picked it up? And I was like, no, absolutely not. And he goes, the tow truck driver said it was running. And so he just dropped it off in the middle of our lot and then just left. He didn't like tell us who it belonged to. There was no name associated with who the truck belonged to. Like they just kind of gave me the key and left it here and said, it's running. You guys can deal with it, and took off.
Wow.
I was like, okay. So he goes, yeah, it's a good thing nothing happened to your truck, because like if something happened to your truck, we technically haven't taken owner or responsibility of it yet. And I was like, interesting. So that was kind of fascinating to kind of deal with that. I've never had that happen yet before with AAA.
Yeah.
And so they worked on doing some diagnostics and they found out, the battery was completely dead. What they did was they hooked up a battery jump starter to it, and immediately upon pulling the jump starter off, then they had to do that in order to get the accessory circuit running. Once they pulled the jump starter off, they said you could just watch the battery just drop in voltage.
Wow.
And I was like, that's weird. Like the battery shouldn't be that dead.
Right.
That's weird. Like all of a sudden have just a dead cell, a couple cells in the battery maybe. So I'm like, okay. So they put a new battery in it and got so that they can, at least reach and plug into the ECM and start diagnosing the systems.
Yeah.
And they found out that circuit 27, which is that one that F-150s have issues with,
okay,
was melted.
Oh,
in the fuse box.
Oh, wow.
Like below the fuses.
Okay.
And I was like,
there's your draw.
I was like, that would cause a big parasitic draw. And he said, yeah. And that fuse, I was like, so that could also cause fuel pump issues too, right? And he goes, yeah, definitely. But that circuit controls a lot of the engine management stuff, not just your fuel pump. So if that circuit has issues on it, it could throw off sensors in that circuit as well. And one of the sensors in your circuit is your oil pressure sensor. I was like, interesting. Okay.
Okay. So fix that fuse and let's see what else happens.
They did the fuse relocation circuit on that, which is a common thing for the F-150s. And then upon doing that, they were like, oh, yep, your fuel pump ECM, because a control module for the fuel pump. He said, that's bad. And I said, is that a normal thing that could have gotten fried due to the melting of the wiring? And he goes, yeah, absolutely. I said, okay, so they got to swap out the control module now for the fuel pump. And that's as far as we've gotten. So,
okay.
They said that with the circuit 27 relocation kit on there, the truck starts and a new battery.
Yeah.
The truck starts into idle, but you can't put it in drive and drive around. So what that tells them that there's a fuel pump issue. So they looked in the fuel pump diagnostic, the control module. They said that was bad. So the technician is off today.
Oh.
So the technician will get back to it tomorrow, put a new control module in for the fuel pump, and then try it again. But they said they weren't getting any kind of low oil pressure sensors going off.
Well, that's good.
And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
That's still, to me, that doesn't explain the burned oil smoke in the cab. Any of that. I don't know. That still seems like a different thing, but I don't know. We'll see. Another thing to come out of this is that the sales guys saw a used F-150 in getting repaired, and that's a highly sought after vehicle right now.
Oh,
it's a high demand vehicle, and they're like, we are offering premiums on trade-ins for used F-150s right now.
Okay.
And you can use that trade-in towards any vehicle in our inventory. I'm like,
even when I have on order?
Yeah, maybe. No, I'm thinking about getting an actual tow vehicle that's better set up for towing than the F-150, because I'm absolutely pushing the limits. I'm probably beyond the limits of the F-150's towing capacities for safe towing.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like, well, what do you guys have in for used 6-7 liter F-250s or 350s?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go in on Sunday and take a look at their used inventory on that.
Got it.
And see what they might do on a deal for trading in the F-150.
Cool. I thought you were going to say, so I'm going to sell that to them at a high premium price, and I'm going to start driving a Subaru around.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, so we'll see. I still need a bed. I need something to tow the trailer around for work. I need something to haul stuff around for work. So we'll see kind of what options come of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Your story reminded me that I took Clifford in to get fixed.
That's right. Our group text had a bunch of Fords in at the getting work done.
There was a Mach-E that broke down, and it was at the shop. You said your Ford was at the shop, and I said my Ford was at the shop.
Yeah. It's a Ford thing. They don't understand.
No. So I called around to some of my local repair shops that I know, and I said, hey, I've got my 90. I called a 96 because more people, 97's a weird year.
Okay.
For Fords, it's a hodgepodge of a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And if a 96, I think the 97 F-150 is different body style completely than the 97.
Okay.
F-250. It's weird. So anyway, when I was calling around to just get ideas, I was saying it was a 96 just to make it easy on their end.
Yeah.
So I said I had a 96.
I do the same thing for Napa and AutoZone workers, employees.
In regards to the 4Runner?
Yeah. Just whatever. I'll pick the vehicle that's the easiest for them to look up.
Yeah. And depending on what part you're talking about, like I need a part for my front axle. It's out of a 1985 Toyota pickup.
Yeah.
I need a part for my engine. It's a 1992 Toyota pickup. I need a part for my rear axle. It's a 94.
By the time you're on your third or fourth vehicle, they're like, how many vehicles do you have? You're like, oh no, this is all one vehicle. Same vehicle.
Yeah.
And that's what they get really confused. You're like, don't ask questions. Just go with it.
Yeah, exactly. So I called one guy And he said, yeah. And this was just an auto mechanic place.
Mm-hmm.
He said, yeah, we can do it, but you should really call this other diesel shop here in town. And I said, okay. So I called the other diesel shop and he's like, yeah, we could totally do that, but this is not really our forte. You should call this diesel shop. It's actually they like specialize in Fords.
Okay.
And I said, okay. So I called the Adamson diesel or auto and repair or diesel and repair, something like that. Over in I think they're in Roseville, I think. And I called them up and I said, hey, and then I told them, I was like, I got a 97 F250. It has an exhaust leak in the manifold on the cylinder number 8. He's like, well, that sucks. I was like, yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you.
And he said, we don't really work on vehicles that old anymore. We stick more to the newer stuff. And I said, well, you came highly recommended from the Loomis diesel shop, and they suggested you. And he's like, well, let me go talk to my techs. I said, okay. And so he went and talked to the techs. He called me back later and he said, okay, so the techs are cool with it. I'm going to try to start sourcing parts to see if this is something that's even feasible. Mm-hmm. We highly suggest replacing the manifold instead of taking it off and planing it down or getting it decked or whatever they call it, because then that just creates a thinner material.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's going to heat up and warp faster than the previous one. And I said, okay, cool. If you can find it, good. Mm-hmm. Later he said he called Ford. They didn't have any. He called a few other places. Nobody had any. He called Napa and they had like a bunch of them in stock.
Nice.
And they had a few different versions. So he's like, I'm getting this one. It's highly recommended. A lot of people say this is a good brand. And I said, cool, do it. I guess they took Clifford in at that point in time. I dropped it off. They took it in to actually confirm that was the problem, even though I said, I'm pretpretty mechanically inclined. Yeah. I kind of know what I'm talking about, but they never trust you. Yeah. Right. They never, they don't, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a shade tree mechanic. I don't know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. But, so they took it in and they did some like 20 something point inspection, and, I talked to the guy on the phone and he said, I got a story for you. And I was like, okay. He said, when the tech went to take your truck in, he said, get ready for a really expensive quote.
Okay.
And I was like, why? And he said, because it's an old Ford and it probably has all sorts of problems. Uh-huh. I said, it does.
Yes.
I purposely put it on the rear fuel tank because the rear fuel tank actually shows a level of gas where the front one's completely dead. So they didn't even catch that. But anyway, so he, when I was on the phone, I'm like, okay, so what's the damage? He said, let me just say that your Ford is the cleanest OBS Ford we've ever had in our shop.
Wow.
Yeah. And I said, seriously? And he's like, yeah, has a few leaks, but everything else is really, really clean on it. Everybody was super impressed.
Nice.
Yeah. So for parts and labor on the manifold, it's about $1,000.
Okay.
And then I'm having them do some other small little tinkery things, changing a sensor, doing actually a transmission flush. I don't know what the deal was. There was something weird with my transmission. Like I got it. The previous owner had it bulletproofed and they put a trans cooler on it. But the shop that did it, that had it bulletproof, put some weird low, like almost synthetic like oil in the transmission instead of ATF.
Okay. Interesting.
And so I've always sort of been hesitant about doing any somewhat work on it or changing fluids on it or anything because I can't do a full flush personally. I can't pull the fluid out of the radiator, the trans cooler and everything. I can drain the transmission, but all the fluid doesn't come out. So I told them to do a whole flush, put ATF in so I don't have to worry about this in the future. So, and then, like a few sensors and then the manifold and
nice.
It should be done tomorrow, Wednesday, or today, Thursday.
Nice.
Well, yesterday, Wednesday, tomorrow for me, yesterday for podcast land.
Yep.
So it actually all in all worked out really well. And it's nice. I mean, as much as it is nice to have somebody else work on your rig. But there's no way that I could possibly work on Clifford and Bobcat and do everything else I have to do before Cruise Moab. So I had to pawn one of these rigs off.
Yeah. Well, nice. That'll be fun to have Clifford with no exhaust leaks anymore now.
Yeah, I'm really excited to feel the power difference.
Yeah.
Because I've been, to my knowledge, as long as I've had this vehicle, it's had the exhaust manifold leak.
Mm-hmm.
So I know how it drives.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable with having that exhaust manifold leak.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if driving it around without no exhaust leak, if it's how much more power is it going to have?
Yeah.
Because it was leaking. That cylinder number 8, for people that don't know that rig very well, is the exact spot where the turbo up pipe is. I think it's the up pipe to the turbo, the intake for the turbo. So it's losing a lot of the draw into the turbo. So I'm not getting the full turbo potential.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, like, so how much better is it going to be?
Yeah.
And I'm sure going over the Sierra grades here at Highway 80 grade, it's going to be way different.
Oh, it'll be massive different. Yeah. It should be night and day.
Hopefully.
I asked them to look into my underboost code.
Okay.
When I'm accelerating in the F-150 while towing. And they're like, that's going to be so hard to diagnose because we have to get the rig into a towing state in order to get that code to pop up. And then we got to, plug into the computer and do everything. And I was like, well, I'm okay. Don't worry about that now then. I'll deal with that later, but I'm not towing it. I'm not using it to tow to Moab. So it's not a high priority now. So, we'll see how that comes out, but
you might not even need to worry about it if you're going to get another truck.
Right. We'll see. Other than that, I also built a dual case, a crawl box. Yeah. And for MF for Sean.
Oh, cool.
This weekend. So he's getting really, really close to finally having his rig done.
Nice.
He had the 3.0 in it and ultimately broke the engine. The flex plate was doing some weird things. So he just said he's done dealing with the engine and fighting it. He's just going to do a 3.4 swap.
Okay.
So he's going from an automatic to a manual 3.4.
Oh, sweet.
So he's getting all that set up. He's doing dual cases at the same time. And so he's just been waiting for funds and waiting for Morphlate to pay him.
Right.
So that he can buy parts and do all that. So he got in the spare transfer case for the gear driven transfer case to put under it, and an extra crawl box.
Okay.
For everything.
Yeah.
And then he ordered the advanced adapters adapter plate that comes with your rebuild kit for the bearings and everything for all the gears to put in it,
gaskets and all.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he also bought a transfer case rebuild kit as well.
Oh. Okay.
So, and thinking that he was going to need that in order to rebuild the crawl box, because he thought the advanced adapters kit was just the adapter plate.
Oh.
And so when he ordered the adapter plate, turns out it comes with your studs and some bearings and all your gaskets and everything too. And he goes, oh, so I've got this extra transfer case rebuild kit now.
I'll buy that off you, Sean.
We'll see. He might be interested, but we had to use a couple of the bearings from it.
Oh,
because the way Advanced Adapters sets up their adapter plate kit is that they tell you have to start with a full transfer case, a top shift transfer case. And so you start with the full transfer case, and then they make you reuse the gears from it, the 2.28 gears, and a couple of the bearings. And I'm like,
from the T
from the T case.
Yeah. That's how it's done.
Why don't they just give you, because they give you the bearings, new bearings for the 2.28 gear set and the intermediate gear set, the intermediate gear, they give you those bearings. But they don't give you the bearings that are, they don't give you the cage bearings or the bearings that go into the front side of the crawl box.
My only guess is that it's a different bearing size.
Maybe.
Because I think the Marlin one's the same.
Maybe, I don't know. So we had to take some of the gears out of his transfer case rebuild kit or the bearings out of the transfer case rebuild kit in order to put together his crawl box.
Okay.
So, but we got it all together, but that took a while because I was like, there's bearings missing. Like we were missing 2 bearings. Like, why aren't they here? And so digging into it and trying to find the instructions for advanced adapters, that took a while to just find their instructions in the first place. And then going through their instructions, they're like, yeah, you have to take this bearing off, this cage bearing off of your input shaft of the transfer case and reuse it when putting together your crawl box. I was like, that's stupid. Just include the bearings. So we have all new bearings in all this. You're including a couple of the bearings already. include all of them.
Yeah.
So it's all new bearings for people, but whatever. So once we figured that out, everything went together smooth from there, but it took us like an hour to figure out why we were missing 2 bearings.
Yeah, that sucks. Somebody needs to make a video on that.
Yeah, definitely. And while we were in there, we did the twin stick conversion.
Mm-hmm.
And so we used the snail trail video to go back, and I was like, okay, I'm just making sure we're pulling out the right pin and the right, the shift rails in the right location in order to get the tie together pin to fall out correctly and everything. So anyways, got all that set up. That was fun on Saturday. On Sunday, I started to measure the front axle to cut my WMS.
Yes.
So I have the knuckles from Reed, the Super Kingpin knuckles and the inner C's for them, which are an absolute gorgeous piece of equipment. The whole idea is that you can use stock Dana 60 knuckle stuff with 05 and up Super Duty unit bearing and stub shaft stuff stock.
Okay.
So that makes, your spare parts and everything really kind of off the shelf parts.
Factory. That's nice.
In something that's rated at the same equivalent of like a 2.5 ton Rockwell knuckles.
Jeez. Yeah.
They're crazy. So the problem that I've been waiting on, I've been waiting on in order to figure out the WMS is I needed the Kingpin kits because they're just bare knuckles. They don't have the actual Kingpin, your bearings, and
they didn't come with the knuckles.
No,
You'd
they
think
don't.
that would come together.
You would think, and I even told when I was ordering all this stuff, I told the people I was ordering it from when I was talking to Reed, I was like, "Hey, I'm just getting the Super Kingpins. What all do I need to get the C's connected to the knuckles?"
Right. Yeah.
And they were just like, "Yeah, just a Dana 60 rebuild kit, a Kingpin rebuild kit." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I talked with Grant at Flexstop Motorsports because I picked up the knuckles from him, and I had to get the C's from Reed. And I was like, "Hey, bare knuckles. I've been told all I need is the Kingpin rebuild kit." And he goes, "Yep, I've got 2 of those right here." I was like, "Cool, awesome." So I got those home, and they were missing the Kingpins out of them.
What?
Yeah.
Is that a normal thing?
No, it's not.
Okay. So it was a return that didn't have all the parts in it or something?
I'm guessing. So he said those were brand new from, I think, I don't want to say any names. I don't remember if it was Yukon or East Coast Gear Supply, which one he got them from. But he goes, "Those are brand new." He goes, "I hadn't opened those yet, so I didn't know that the Kingpins are missing." And like, it's one of those things where they're like shrink wrap
in there.
So you can see that somebody cut the shrink wrap to take the Kingpin out of it.
Right.
And so I was like, all right. So then I talked with Jaws Gear and Axle, who's kind of an axle gear and axle place here in town. And they're very closely associated with Yukon. The owner of Jaws Gear and Axle was one of the original owners of Yukon with Dave.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so that was kind of fun talking with him. And he was an owner of Yukon for 13 years before he was finally like, "Yeah, I want to go do my own thing." And eventually ended up here in Sacramento with Jaws Gear and Axle. So I was talking with him. I was like, "Hey man, I've got bare Super Kingpin knuckles. I need everything in order to connect these knuckles to the C's. So complete Kingpin setup." And he goes, "Okay, I've got 2 Yukon Kingpin rebuild kits here for you." And I was like, "Cool." Grab them, take them home. Everything's in the kit except for the lower Kingpins.
What?
I'm like, I've talked to 3 different companies about these and said, "I've got bare knuckles, Reed, Flexed Out Motorsports, and Jaws Gear and Axle." It's like, bare knuckles. I need everything to set up a Kingpin knuckle. And nobody has been able to give me everything to set up a Kingpin knuckle.
That is crazy.
I don't get it. I don't understand. Am I just not saying the right things?
I don't know. I mean, maybe you just need to say what is all involved in setting up this. Is there a top kit? Is there a bottom kit? Is there an inside kit, outside kit?
Yeah.
Is there an internal kit? What else is there?
I don't know. Yeah. So, turns out the beauty of doing this knuckle setup is that you can get lower Kingpins. Apparently in a Kingpin rebuild kit, this is for everybody out there who's unfamiliar with how Kingpins work. A Kingpin rebuild kit does not come with lower Kingpins ever.
Oh,
ever. You have to go and buy the lower Kingpins separately from a Kingpin rebuild kit. You will get the upper Kingpins in a Kingpin rebuild kit, but you will never get the lowers.
So do you think that's why the kingpins were stolen out of that other kit?
I don't know. I've got no clue. I had no idea why. So yeah, anyways, you can get stock kingpin lowers from Napa for like $30 or something like that.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm dead. I don't get why this is so difficult.
Yeah.
People.
Maybe it's not as aggressive as a wear point as the top ones. And so you just don't change them that often.
Probably. That'd be my guess. So in doing all this, Hussman, went down a deep dive to find, look for steering arms. Cause I'm like, in theory, as long as you get a Dana 60 kingpin steer arm, it should fit on these knuckles. And, sure enough, that's a 6-bolt Dana 60 kingpin bolt pattern, for the steer arms. And so I'm like, cool, let's do it. And I'll find us some steering arms. And I'm not sure I want something that's double shear, but I want something that's high steer as well. And it needs to be set up for crossover steering. Because usually once you get up into these knuckles, people are running full hydro.
Right.
And so I'm like, I think I'm asking a lot for steer arms for these things. But let's see if we can find something. Hussman found 3 different options. And there's actually surprisingly quite a few options out there.
Wow. Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But these ones that he found are really fucking cool.
Oh,
they're
really?
from Ballistic Fabrication.
Okay. Yeah.
And so they are 6 stud on top. So and a lot of them that I've found and you look for, a lot of the options out there are 5 stud.
Got it. Okay.
So they're missing the 6 stud on the back. So these ones from Ballistic Fabrication have all 6 studs in the steer arm. They've got the kingpin load bolt and the jam nut on there. And this one's really cool because a lot of them are just, straight arms and they're not really double shear. The way you make them double shear is that they can tie into the, there's the regular steer tie rod arm, tie-in point on the knuckle, which for Dana 60 stuff is kind of like this protrusion that's forged into the knuckle. Right.
Yeah.
And so are cast into the knuckle. And so, this one actually is really freaking cool because it offers a double shear bracket that bolts into the top of the arm. So you get double shear on a crossover setup, but then what really makes it cool is that it has a protrusion off of the arm to have a post to go down and tie into the knuckle casting for the tie rod to add that much more strength to the arm itself.
Okay. So would it be a triple shear?
I mean, the arm itself is on 6 studs.
Right.
And then the just having a long arm, there's a big leverage point out there. And so all your studs are what holds your arm on. This one is also held on out at the end of the arm.
Got it.
And then you've got your double shear on your crossover steer parts, and it comes with Heims on it as well.
There you go.
So I'm
right up your alley.
I was like, dude, this is freaking cool. This is a sweet steer arm. So I'm going to get a couple. I already ordered those up. I ordered the bronze bushings for the kingpins. So once those all come in, I'll officially be able to put it all together and put it on the axle.
Sweet.
However, in order to figure out the WMS measurement, so here's the part that I want to get into and ask people out there for is, I just put the kingpin in the upper C and then just sat the bottom of the C in the bottom of the knuckle. And there's actually a little groove that it sits in to line it up. And I was like, that's pretty clever. Okay. So then I took all my measurements off the knuckle with the unit bearing, figured out my measurements on the WMS and what I need the long side and short side to be. Because in order to run a 10.5 inch, pumpkin on, the 3.4 motor in my frame rails, Brian from 4 Wheel Underground says I'm going to need a 10-inch offset on the pumpkin.
Okay.
So from center line of the vehicle, the center of the pumpkin needs to be over to the passenger side 10 inches.
Got it.
And that's
how big? So that's half of, that's just about 1/3 member over, right? So
pretty much, yeah.
From that area. So you're pretty much at the far end or a little past that, I guess, from the point. So the center line of what will be your axle will be 10 inches off of the pumpkin, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I set that up and figured out all the measurements. And I don't have enough tube on the long side of
Oh no.
the axle housing in order to keep the WMS equal to the rear.
Oh no.
So the tubes on these custom housings that I ordered
Are not long enough.
They're not long enough by 1 3/4 inches.
Okay.
1 3/4 inches. So I have a couple of options. And I put these out on Instagram on stories to try and get feedback from people. I did get a lot of feedback from them, and I figured I have 3 options here.
Okay.
Option 1.
Well, the easy option is a shorter axle, right?
Yeah, the easy option. So let's start with that one. That was going to be my option 3, but let's start with that one.
Sure.
The easiest option is to just run 3.5 inch shorter WMS in the front than the rear.
And that's 1.5 inches on each side.
1 3/4
inch and 3/4 each side.
Yep. So 3.5 inch total on the WMS, shorter in the front than the rear. By running a shorter front axle than your rear axle, that impacts how you turn.
Absolutely.
So if your front tires are inside of the track width of your rear tires, then when you go to turn, the vehicle doesn't want to turn. It wants to push you forward through the turns. Kind of almost like turning with lockers on.
Yeah.
Right. You get the same effect. And that's in 2-wheel drive. In 4-wheel drive, it's not that big of an issue because you have the front end pulling through the turn, right?
You're going to have E-lockers front and rear?
Yeah. So
you could turn the rear one off and have the locker on the front to help you turn.
I could, to help pull it through. But you know, I'm going to be driving the rig on the road. And so in 2-wheel drive on the road, is that really going to be a big concern? I know that there's people out there that run Toyota axles with a 3-inch difference in WMS from your rear IFS width axle, right?
Yep.
And they don't really have too many issues. I haven't heard of people noticing.
Well, you're doing it now on Kermit, right?
No, because I've got 1.5 wheel spaces on each side.
Okay. Yeah.
So my track width is equal to the rear right now on Kermit. Yeah. So that's kind of the option, is run wheel spacers to bring and make up for the WMS in wheel spacers. So I'm running an equal track width in the end, front and rear.
Right.
Or do that with offset wheels or something. The problem with doing it with offset wheels is then I've got different wheels from front and rear.
Yeah.
And as you were explaining to me, if I want to go do and
you want to rotate your tires,
exactly,
you'd have to debead your tires and put them on the wheels that belong on the front.
Exactly.
Really, you could only cross them.
Yeah.
Front to front and rear to rear, side to side.
Yeah. So, I'm, option 3, the simplest one would just be, lose 3.5 inches on the WMS and try and make it up in wheel spacers.
Okay.
So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is to, when I cut the short side, take the leftover tube from the short side and put it on the long side, or put it on the long side, extend the long side.
Sure. Fill the space in a way.
Exactly. So that would require sleeving the inside of the tube. I need to find a 2 3/4 inch tube that can go in there, probably 1/8 wall or something, to press into the end of the tube and then press on the extra tube from the short side onto that, have everything beveled and then weld it up with a full pin weld, which I'm like, that sounds kind of fun. I would love to learn how to do a full pin weld properly and how to sleeve and fuck around with axle tube lengths properly. So I'm like, that could be a lot of fun. Do I want to take the time to do all that? I don't know.
Right.
That's the big question. And then the third option is to try and move my pumpkin over so that essentially if I take that 1 3/4 off of the long side and move it over to the short side. So my short side will be 1 3/4 longer now, thus moving my pumpkin closer to the center line of the vehicle to keep the WMS proper, but be 1 3/4 offset on the pumpkin from the 10 inches that Brian said I should have. So I'll be at 8 1/4 rather than 10 on the offset. Is that going to clear everything?
I don't know.
So my big theory, my big worry originally, and what I put in the Instagram video, which is wrong, by the way, was that I thought that my upper link for my 3-link was going to be on my differential, because originally when you and I were going through all the brackets, we had them spread out that way.
Yeah.
When in actuality, yours is on top of your differential. Mine is a bracket tower like bracket that comes off the long side of the tube.
Ooh, okay.
So my 3-link bracket is not going to be on top of my differential.
Right.
So I've got a little bit more space clearance upwise. It would just be a matter of if my pinion and the yoke on the pinion for the drive shaft flange is going to clear my oil pan if it's 1 3/4 inches closer in. So essentially if it's 8 1/4 inch offset rather than 10-inch offset. So I'm kind of looking at that option now. And that option is going to require me to take some measurements, put the third member up into the axle housing and figure out how far off of center does the pinion yoke sit. And at full compression, if it's up there, are we going to contact the oil pan?
Right. Yeah. To me, it almost sounds like this is a job for when the suspension is going on.
That was option number 4.
Yeah.
And so I talked with Ori about option number 4 before, and I said, hey, look, I've got the front axle. I can put it all together. I would love to put it together. That would be my preference. But at the same time, I realized that it might be easier to package everything if you put it together while you're doing the front suspension.
Right.
And he said, honestly, from a builder's standpoint, it's easier if you can put the front axle together in similar packaging and location to your current front axle, then it's easier from a builder's perspective to fit it because you already have set things to go off of.
Right.
He said, once you start getting into, oh, well, if we move this here, then we can move that there, move that there, move that there. It becomes too many options.
Sure.
As you and I know, if you have a lot of options, it can be really hard to start making decisions on how to do stuff. So he said, from a builder's perspective, if I can have some variables that are already set, it makes his life a lot easier. So I said, okay. I said, I'm going to set up my caster for this. I'm going to set up my pumpkin roughly here. And I'm going to have this rough WMS, which should give you this much space on the long side tube and this much space on the short side tube. And he goes, great. Those are great starting points to work with. Now I can kind of work on packaging the suspension around all that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. So I don't know yet. I still don't know which way I'm going to go with it and which option I'm going to go with. So
sounds like we need to pull your axle off, pull your leaf springs out and sort of set it under there and actually look at it.
Kind of. Yeah.
If you need to build the axle.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with the front axle. I'm have a pause right now to try and figure out which way I want to go, how I want to do it.
Yeah. Well, you're not in as big as a rush because you were going to try to get the 4Runner done for Cruise Moab. Mm-hmm. Now you're definitely taking the Bronco.
Yep.
And once again, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Getting a Bronco. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you're and Ori has a few people that he's currently working on before he even gets your rig in there. So you have a little bit of wiggle room to try and figure this out.
I do.
The problem is we're going to be gone for over a week.
Yeah.
that wiggle room is going to be taken away from.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I don't know if anybody has any ideas or suggestions for Tyler. You can email him at tyler@snailtrail4x4.com or find him on Instagram. Did you save that story? Or are you going to post that highlighted or anything for people? Or is it?
It hadn't occurred to me.
No.
I don't get social media. So.
Yeah. Or just message him on Instagram, 4x4 Toyota Tyler, and give him some feedback. How should he fix this problem? Should he make the axle wider? Should he run it just the size it is and add wheel spacers? Or should he adjust the pumpkin a little bit one way or another to best fit the application? Another
interesting idea that had been brought up that I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty interesting idea, was to contact Brian Ellinger over at Diamond Axle.
Yeah.
And tell him that the axle tubes are too short and I need longer axle tubes, and see if he has any customers currently waiting for a 10.5-inch housing, and ship them my housing and have Brian make me a new housing with the proper length tubes.
It's not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea, except that last time he made my housings, it took him 9 months.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to wait 9 months for another housing.
Right.
So,
well, it'd be one of those like, hey, are you currently in the works of building a 10.5?
Yeah.
Because here's my issue. So I can send somebody my 10.5 if you can finish that 10.5 and make it 3 inches longer.
Yeah.
4 inches longer.
Yeah.
And it might be worth a phone call.
Yeah. I've had troubles getting a hold of Brian in the past. So I'm like, I'm not, again, customer service, right?
Yeah.
If you can't do good customer service, then you're going to have people second guessing whether they should try and deal with your product anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't know. I might try and call and see if I get a hold of him magically. We'll see. So I'm interested to other ideas if people have other ideas out there.
So that's, please share those ideas. That's definitely, there's so many, that's one cool thing about podcasting, right? Is that we can crowdsource these ideas. You guys out there have different ideas than we have. And some of you maybe have more experience than we have. So, give us those ideas, give us that, the experience off your back, give us the suggestions to help solve this problem.
Yep. I like it. I guess with that, Jimmy, do you have any final words for everybody out there?
No, but I got a rant.
Oh, let's do a rant.
And it's on customer
enough?
Service. Where's my cell phone?
Oh man, here we go. Let me get into this real quick. So I have a follow-up to my garbage situation.
Okay.
So, so we talked about waste management and trying to charge, an absorbent amount of fees for garbage pickup.
Yeah.
I signed up for Republic Services. Republic Services, apparently their local company does not talk with their online company. They're the same company, but they can't communicate with each other.
Weird.
Which I just could not understand. I went round and round with this lady for like 20 minutes. Like, no, I already placed an order with you guys. And she goes, no, you didn't. And I was like, yes, I did. And she goes, no, you placed it with the online Republic Services. I'm like, you're the same fucking company. Pull up my order. And they can't do it. Anyways.
Weird.
So, a rep finally reached out from the online company of Republic Services and was like, hey, I got everything for you. You need to have an organics bin. It's a California mandate. It's not City of Sacramento. So any businesses that are getting garbage services in California has to have an organics bin. You can get a waiver for it if you're under a specific size, you meet certain criteria, which I qualify for. However, when you place your order with any garbage company moving forward, you have to have an organics bin. And the organics bin is a stupid little plastic thing that costs more than our dumpster.
Jeez.
And I'm like, this is fucking stupid. He goes, I agree. He goes, I live in Arizona. he goes, I don't live in California for a reason. I think it's bullshit that you guys are doing that. He goes, so what I'm going to do for you, I know you're going to qualify for the waiver. So we have to place an order here for an organics bin, but I'm going to put it as a delivery over in April so that you don't pay for it right away and you're not getting a delivery charge for it. And that gives us time to get your waiver through and then we can cancel it off your order. I was like, thank you.
That's cool.
He goes, and the other thing that I'm going to do for you is I think it's stupid and abhorrent that these companies charge stupid fees for delivery. He goes, I'm going to knock down your delivery fee of $180 to $50 because it doesn't cost them that much to deliver a stupid dumpster. I was like, where have you been my life for the last 4 weeks?
Can you be every customer service person I call?
I was like, can I just hire you for Moreflay right now?
Right.
So anyways, I was just like, so there's still people out there.
There are.
They're just getting few and far between, apparently. Okay. So what's your rant with customer service? I'm curious. I want to have fun with this.
So Snail Armor uses Shopify for the web host / sales point.
The payment processing, point of sales, everything.
Yeah,
okay.
All of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got an email from Shopify.
Okay.
And in the email, I'm going to read you one of the paragraphs.
Okay.
We recently discovered an issue with shipping label prices adjustments dating back to October of 2022. A technical issue with our shipping. Yeah, a technical issue with our shipping or with our shipping label implications meant that our billing system was unable to process label adjustment charges. This resulted in some charges not being billed to your shop. Our technical team has resolved the issue, which will prevent this from happening in the future.
Cool. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah,
Talk to you later.
We'll be setting up a billing plan to collect the unprocessed charges, which are $82.
So their fuck ups are your accountability.
Yes.
Yeah. Good times, man.
Right?
Oh my God.
I wrote him back.
Okay. I'm ready.
Here was my response. I don't understand how this is my problem. Why are you billing me for something that is wrong on your end? As a business owner, I can't forward these charges onto my customers that have already paid for their shipping labels. So why are you screwing me out of $83.39 because of your mistake?
Yeah. Fair, legit question.
Yeah. They wrote back and pretty much said, more information will be coming out about this tomorrow. Please see the following email. If you have any additional questions, hit this button to contact customer support. And I have not seen another follow-up email. Since then, I've talked to a buddy of mine who's a lawyer, and unofficial lawyer advice he gave me is in your terms of services, it might say something that states that they can charge you for blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Why don't you just come back to them and say, please show me where in the terms of services you state that you can bill me for unpaid things.
Yeah.
And if they can't provide that for them, if they can't provide that to me, then they can't bill me.
Yeah.
So I have yet to write that email. I want to get more legalese from my buddy.
Yeah.
And pretty much contact him and say, I've discussed this with my attorney, and he has asked me to, to ask you to please provide me with the terms of the place where it states in your terms of service that you are allowed to bill me.
That you're allowed to do this.
Yeah, that you're allowed to do this.
Yeah.
However he words that. So we'll see how this goes. I know that I'm probably diving down a rabbit hole that might make me have to not work with this company anymore. But you know what? It seems, and it's only over $82 too. That's the
right. So here's the thing. Yes, I'm 100% with you. It's only over $82, but I think that mentality right there is what allows companies to continually do shit like this.
Absolutely. How many people have had this problem on Shopify? How many people use Shopify? How many people have been selling something on Shopify since October of 2022 to today? I don't know how long it's been going on. My guess is they started doing their taxes and found out that there was a problem.
Probably.
And now they've solved that problem. So how much money has Shopify lost? And now they're just trying to cover their ass.
That's 100% what it is. And like, yeah, it's only over $82, but like,
right.
Here's the thing. If that mentality of that company is to do that in the first place, what's to keep them from doing it in the future to you?
For more.
Exactly.
Yes.
So like as you're looking for the email, I was like, man, if it were me, I would be like, you guys, do you want to lose a customer over $82? Like, because if you guys are showing me that you're willing to do this now, you're showing me that you're going to do it in the future.
Right.
And I don't want to be dealing with a company that's going to continually do this. So, well, what it is it's on the adjustment. So it's for some reason, something happened in shipping and UPS was like, oh, this is actually going out to this zip code, or the shipping address wasn't correct. And so they have to go manually change the shipping address. There's a $5 charge for that, whatever. Right. So those build up over time, and Shopify's system wasn't set up to make those adjustments back to you as well. Correct. And so
it's probably all the ones that go to Canada.
It's probably. And so what happens is a buildup of charges over time, but it's like, how much revenue is Shopify making off of you?
Right.
And is that really worth losing your revenue? And this is, I'm trying to think of this as a business from Shopify. This is how I would handle the situation.
Sure.
Because I had an issue happen like this with Morphlate, where we charged a bunch of compressors for people that had orders and back orders on compressors. And we ended up getting our batch in to ship out to people during Black Friday week.
Right.
And I was like, well, it's not fair to the customers that have already ordered and are now going to be receiving their compressors during Black Friday week or shortly after Black Friday week. And they're not getting a chance to order and get the Black Friday sales because they've already placed their orders. Correct. So I retroactively went back and gave everybody a refund that had compressors on back order. And I was like, that's my mistake as a company. It's not worth me losing out future business.
You gave them not a complete refund. You gave them a discounted refund.
A prorated discount to make sure that everybody got the Black Friday sale,
Correct.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it's not worth it to me as a company to lose that business or somebody like, if I'm a consumer and I'm like, oh, they're having a Black Friday sale, but I didn't get the Black Friday price because I placed my order early and yet I'm getting my stuff at the same time as Black Friday stuff, I would get kind of pissed. And I would be like, no, just cancel my order, refund me everything. Like, it's not worth the revenue that your customer is bringing to you or the bad press that Shopify is now getting from us.
Right.
And we're such a big podcast channel. Ooh. That over $82 for a multi-million-dollar company. I don't know how much Shopify is worth, what their monthly revenue is or annual revenue is, but is it really worth it for $82 to you from you? No. Their customer. I'm like, I'm sure they got like a really bad business decision on Shopify's part.
Yeah, I'm sure they got hit with $1 million probably, right?
Probably, yeah.
And they're like, fuck, we can't do this. We have to figure out a way to spread this out and give it, like, have other people pay it. Right. And here I am, $82, which I can pay an $82 bill. Yeah. Right. But that's not the issue. The issue is they made a mistake and I'm paying for it.
Yes. Yeah. It's in my opinion, in terms of how businesses work, it's a really bad business move and it's a terrible, awful customer service move.
Right. I 100% agree. The other day, I quoted a panel for custom etching, right? And the way that I've been quoting panels is I charge the person by the minute and there's a $25 setup fee. I forgot to quote them the $25 setup fee. I just quoted them the minute.
Yep.
Right. And so they got the price and they're cool. We're in. I want to do it. And I was like, oh crap. I forgot to charge them the $25 for the setup fee. I did not write back to the guy and say, hey, I'm sorry. I forgot to quote you $25 additional. So here's an updated quote. Here's an updated quote. Can you pay this other $25 and then I'll start your panel or do your panel? Yep. I didn't do that.
No.
Right.
That's bad. It's bad, terrible customer service, but it's bad business too. Like, why would you risk that sale now over $25? Why would you risk that customer's loyalty, that customer in the future over $25? Like,
it's annoying. It sucks.
Yeah.
So I've started looking into other options of something to do.
Yeah.
If I do want to move and get away from this company, I don't know if they'd give you amazing shipping rates. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, but I'm going to raise a stink about it until I am proven that they are allowed to do this for the most part. So.
Yeah. Oh, good times. That's a good one.
Oh, love it.
Good customer service is hard to come by. So if you find companies you like dealing with that treat you well and do good customer service, they are worth their weight in gold. Stay with them and let your friends know about them too.
Yes.
So, and vice versa. If you come across companies that are bad customer service, I'm a huge proponent of calling them out because otherwise nothing's going to change. So cool, man. Any final words for everybody out there today?
Go support the Utah Public Land Association. Go and message them. Alliance. Go send in that email. We talked about that at the beginning. I want to talk about it at the end just so that you remind yourself to go and do that.
I like it. Let's go get some nachos. And remember, everybody out there, keep crawling.
I got one for you.
Okay.
A little bit of March Madness.
I'm not going to get it then.
Themed here. Well, it's why did the chicken cross the basketball court?
I don't know why.
Because the ref was calling fouls.
Oh, okay.